Zack Snyder's films are being crushed under the weight of too much melodramatic slow-motion storylines, and it simply needs to stop. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. The world that Zack Snyder comes from is stuffed with lore-driven drama, mature sensibilities, and dark imagination. His work reflects those traits in abundance, despite there being enough opportunities to go so completely campy in his artistic style that it would threaten even David Cronenberg's reputation in the field. But Snyder doesn't take the bait. He would rather be the master of dramatic storytelling that presents itself as an epic Greek tragedy than serve up a generic film that gets lost among the stampede of 1,000 other films coming off of Hollywood's factory lineup. It is this obstinate ambition to tell the greatest of stories in whichever genre he picks up, be it historical fiction like 300, comic adaptation like Watchmen, or a zombie apocalypse film like Dawn of the Dead, that often leads to a divisive cult classic hit. With grim, color-graded, dark vignettes marring every frame of heavy artillery dialogue, slow-motion action, and deep insightful monologues, Zack Snyder's films either hit the bullseye or his aesthetic vision completely turns off the viewers. In the recent past, Zack Snyder has been trampled, cursed out, exiled, and exorcised from the industry so completely that the fans who gathered in his support turned hostile in his defense. To back him didn't just mean supporting the director through his hardships, but also protecting his vision for DCU's future. The more that dream was shoved aside by Warner Brothers, the more ardent his fans would get in trying to get the project back on track until Justice League finally took a stand and came out successful in 2021. The shared shock and trauma from the 5-year-long incident evolved the director's image to a godlike figure to his community of undaunted, unbiased, and unwavering followers, a trait that has often earned them the nickname Snyder cultists by the opposition in online forums. But the aftermath of Rebel Moon saw even such loyal fans limiting their quota of praise reserved for the director. The Netflix film, which was supposed to be Zack Snyder's magnum opus, the masterpiece of the decade, a film unchecked by studio interference or censored by MPAA or slashed to reduce runtime, instead turned out to be a dud. Was this film then a one-off flop by Snyder who, for the record, has never failed to deliver cult classic hits, no matter how divisive? Or was Rebel Moon only the latest in a long line of films that showed off all the traits that combine to make a pure, unadulterated Zack Snyder classic? Zack Snyder's films have consistently delivered on a grand scale, no matter the genre or tone of storytelling. Be it comic adaptations, historical fiction, a zombie apocalypse film, or Star Wars-inspired jargon, each of Snyder's movies has been a fully formed visionary tale of epic character arcs filled with conflict, melodrama, and war. But while films like 300 inspire awe and terror over the nightmarish glimpse into Spartans and their logic-defying war against the Persians, the same defiant tone and ambition of underdogs waging war against an empire become grating to the nerves while watching Rebel Moon. The primary reason why Snyder's range shifts from his 2006 historical epic to the 2023 Netflix space opera is his increasing dependency on dramatic effects to add depth to his story rather than a focus on the story itself. When it comes to cinematography, Zack Snyder has always been a fan of long soul-cutting stares and dramatic silhouettes against a larger-than-life scenic backdrop. But such thematics never hampered his storytelling because they were used judiciously and with restraint. However, with time, the director has loosened up his reins. His films are now populated, haunted, and plagued by melodramatic slow-motion action sequences. Starting from the death of Superman to, quite frankly, every frame in Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder forgot to use his favorite tropes sparingly and let loose in the absence of studio interference. As a result, the entire film suffers from an incredulously slow-paced narrative and the audience groans and suffers while the protagonist takes out entire squadrons of enemies in extreme slow motion. While the director has only begun to overindulge in such habits, his flaws can be traced back even to the earliest films. Melodrama and Zack Snyder have never been strangers in this lifetime, but it has remained an overbearing and constant presence casting a shadow over every one of his stories. Although Snyder's aesthetic vision may suffer if one asks him to dial down the dramatic seriousness in his films, it may do the director some good to omit the longing stares, slow-motion action, and cinematic silhouettes in favor of character-building and high-stakes storytelling. Who knows? Maybe he could even narrate the entire story of Rebel Moon within one film if he could just pee. Fans believed that the Law and Order star would have made a much better Superman villain than the Social Network star. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Christopher Meloni had a small role in Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, playing military general Nathan Hardy. However, when his casting news was first reported, Many fans assumed that he was roped in for an important role in the DCU. Based on his looks and acting capability, fans believed that he would make a fantastic Lex Luthor in the Superman film. Fans were in for a disappointment when the rumors turned out to be false. To make things worse, fans largely hated Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Christopher Meloni as a more mature Lex Luthor would have made more sense than the young Joker-like portrayal of Eisenberg. Christopher Meloni is known to play the fan-favorite cop detective Elliot Stabler in the police procedural drama Law and Order, SVU. When Zack Snyder's Superman reboot film announced the casting of Meloni in 2012, fans believed that he was playing Lex Luthor. However, the actor was roped in for a smaller role, that of military general Nathan Hardy. Meloni didn't have to audition, as Snyder thought he was perfect for the role. Meloni learned that his character in the film was named after a deceased Navy SEAL, which made the role even more special for him. When asked about his Man of Steel role, Meloni told Rolling Stone that he was happy with the nice arc that his character got in the film, despite not being one of the top 3 guys. He shared with Rolling Stone, "Zack Snyder thought it was a good idea and I got offered the role. And I couldn't have been happier. It's not often that you have a C or D storyline that has a nice arc to it, and I thought that for a character that's not one of the top 3 guys, my journey was good. It had resonance." In another interview with Vulture, he also addressed the earlier rumors that he was playing Lex Luthor. Meloni shared that he would have happily taken on the villain role if Snyder had asked him to. He mentioned that he would have wanted to be recognized as the franchise villain, but added that he was happy to play the role he got. He shared with Vulture, "Sure. Of course. You want to be recognized as a franchise name, but Colonel Nathan Hardy, I enjoyed his arc. I thought it was an important arc." While Meloni was satisfied with the role he was cast in, fans wished they got him as Lex Luthor, especially after watching Jesse Eisenberg portray the character in Batman v Superman. Zack Snyder's choice of the Superman villain was heavily criticized upon the release of the film. Before Snyder's Batman v Superman hit the theaters, many believed that Jesse Eisenberg would be a saving grace in the film. However, upon release, Eisenberg's role received mixed reviews, with many hating on his unorthodox take on the character. Critics bashed his performance, with some sharing that it was a strange mix of the Riddler and the Joker, via the Washington Post. According to Looper, fans hated the character for his Joker-like portrayal of the character in the film. For fans, Lex Luthor was this bald, mature businessman, but Eisenberg was a young, genius madman with a sexy head of youthful hair. Interestingly, Eisenberg was also criticized for being not masculine enough to carry the role of the Superman villain. The Social Network actor defended his portrayal when he appeared at MCM London Comic Con. He shared with the attendees that he just wanted to make these people real and relatable and interesting and engaging, not just, a surface bad person, via the